Why do you have so much stuff? The question kind of took us off guard. It's not one that a group of poor pastors normally gets asked. But here was this young former East German who had spent a year among us studying and learning. And we asked for an assessment. And her assessment of what she had learned over the course of that year was this: why do you have so much stuff? Well, we mumbled and bumbled our way through that question, but she pressed. She said, you fill your houses with stuff. They're big houses, and yet they're filled. Closets, basements, attics. You can't put more stuff in them. So you build a garage, and you fill it with cars and mowers and snow blowers and all kinds of equipment. And when that is too full, you build more sheds. You fill your yards with stuff. And when there is no more room for your stuff, you go out and you rent storage space to put stuff in. And from what I see, you don't even go near that stuff. So why do you have so much stuff? I'm not sure we ever did answer her question. And I had pretty much forgotten it for years, decades in fact, until it came time to downsize, to move into our new house, and to prepare for retirement. And I began to sort through all my stuff. And she was right. I had a lot of stuff. But what I found was that I was addressing the question in my sorting. Why do I have this stuff? Now, some of it was perfectly clear. It was connected. It was about relationships. It was things that reminded me of people in my life, family, friends, mentors, special events, things that were gone and can't be recaptured. But here was a tangible thing that reminded me and kept me close to them in those times. Those things were easy to keep because it was about relationship. But there was a lot of stuff that I couldn't answer the question. Why do I have this stuff? And so it went. And frankly, I haven't missed it. And I'm still going through stuff that passed that first wave of questions. But now, as I've moved it 2 or 3 more times in the house, I've gone, why do I still have this stuff? And it's going to. Jesus talks a lot about stuff. He talks about stuff and riches and treasures. And it's easy for most of us to kind of dismiss that because we are not rich. But frankly, folks, we got a lot of stuff. And our problem is when we hear Jesus talk about it, we dwell on the stuff, when the question is really the why. Why do you have stuff? What's it there for? And the question that Jesus raises again and again, in fact, it's a question that's raised in many places throughout the Bible, is our stuff about security? Are we trying to buy security in an insecure world? And I think if we're honest, there's an element of that. Jesus tells a powerful parable about a rich man who has an incredible year of surplus. So much so that he doesn't have barns big enough to hold it. And so he instructs his workers to build bigger barns. And he fills those bigger barns. And he sits back and goes, life is good. I got it made. And as he's enjoying his stuff, God comes to him and says, you fool, because tonight your life is going to be required of you. And whose will that all be? And so you may be rich in stuff, but poor in your relationship with God, which is what it really is all about. Because that's where our security lies. In an uncertain world, the only thing we can count on is God and the promises God has made to us through the life, death, and resurrection of Christ. That he will continue to walk with us, to be with us, to be present in our lives. And the biggie, that when this life is over, when our life is required of us, and all our stuff is somebody else's stuff, God will be there to welcome us home. He also has a word about this earthly life, and that one of the places we go for security is in those relationships around us. For the love of God comes to us and the people around us, those who walk with us, those who sit and listen to us, moan and groan, and those who celebrate with us. Those are the important things. And that's why that particular stuff that keeps us connected is important to us. All of this was driven home probably best by my grandfather. He had lived through the Depression, and he vowed never to be poor again. And so he invested very wisely over the years, to the point where in a fairly poor family, he was a man of relative wealth. And he sat back and enjoyed it. Not really. He was scared to death somebody was going to steal it. I remember when we cleaned out his house, when he moved out, there was a loaded gun in every room. I'm not sure what he was trying to protect, because all his wealth was either invested in stocks and bonds or in some bank somewhere across the country. And what was even sadder was he trusted absolutely no one, including family. And so when he died, I really believe he thought he could take it with him, but he didn't. The state of New York got most of his quote-unquote fortune. And what was left, ironically, got stolen a generation later. And those whom he should have cared for really got nothing. Security is truly only in God. So why do you have all that stuff? Do your family a favor. Get rid of it now. Sort through it so that they don't have to. Believe me, they will thank you in the end. Amen.